Hi grade 6, welcome to your first virtual math lesson of the week. Today we're going to be looking at lesson 4, which is on rounding. Now rounding is a very important math skill, especially for when you're trying to find just a general sort of ballpark answer to something. You can use it when you're estimating, or you can use it also to double check your work in a quick way. So if maybe you're doing some complicated addition or multiplication, you can round your numbers and then you can find sort of just a general idea of what your answer is to make sure that your answer is reasonable. And what rounding really is just taking a number and deciding on a closer estimate of that number. Okay, so let's take a look at a few examples. So let's start with 6,321. Let's say I wanted to round that number to make it into an easier, rounder number, and I would like to round it to the closest thousand, or in your textbook it will say the nearest thousand. So really what that's asking you to do is figure out which thousand is 6,321 closest to? Would it be closest to 6,000 or would it be closer to 7,000? And it helps to think about it using a number line, just like the one I've created for you up here. Now, if you think about the number 6,321, it would go somewhere in between 6,000 and the halfway point of 6,500. Okay, so since it goes in this section, or this half between our two thousands, we would say that 6,321, the nearest thousand to that, would be 6,000. Okay? Now, if you take another number, take 6,789, well, that one would fit into this half, which is closer to the 7,000, so we would round that one up to 7,000. Okay, now if you had a number that was seeming like it was in the middle, 6,501, that one would be right close to the middle, right there. But since it's on the closer side to the 7,000, so if you think about 6,500 as our middle point, even if we add one extra to that, it's closer to the 7,000, so you would round that up to 7,000 as well. All right, so that's the general idea. Taking a number and thinking which of our two easy numbers, in this case we were doing thousands, is it closest to. And you can do this with more than just thousands. So let's say we were taking the number 357 and we wanted to round it to the nearest hundred. Well, now our number line is going to look a little bit different. We have the 300 and we have the 400. So which side would that one be closest to? Well, 357 is larger than 350. It would end up on the side that is closer to 400. So if I wanted to round this one to the nearest hundred, it would be 400. Now, you can also round numbers to not necessarily the first digit. So let's say we're taking the number 357, but instead of rounding to the nearest hundred, let's say we want to round to the nearest 10. Okay, so think about our place value that we were working on last week. The tens place would be underneath this 5, would be in the tens place. Now we want to round to the nearest 10. So now our number line looks a little bit different. Instead of having hundreds on either side, we have 350 and 360. And we just take our 357 and we realize our 357 would land on this side of our halfway point, so it's closer to 360. So rounding 357 to the nearest 10 would get you 360. All right, and it works also with larger numbers. So let's say we wanted to take 95,647 and round that to the nearest thousand. Well, we use our place value knowledge. We find the thousandth place. I guess I made it a 5 again. That's unrelated. But find the thousands place and then think to yourself, which thousand would it be closest to? Would 95,647 be closer to 95,000 or 96,000? All right, so it just depends on your number, depends on what you are going to be rounding it to. But for, in this case, 95,647, well, it's going to end up over on this side, which means it's closer to 96,000. Now, we want to be able to round without drawing number lines all the time. So what I'm going to do right now is teach you a strategy that you can use to round numbers without drawing number lines. You can just kind of look at the number and figure it out. Okay, so I'm going to have some terms for you that are not in your textbook. They're terms that I have made up to hopefully help you understand how this works. So let's say we wanted to round the same number that we did over here, 95,647, to the thousands place. We wanted to round it to the nearest thousand. What I would like you to do is circle the place value, or circle the digit that's in the place value of where you are rounding to. Okay, so 95,647, the 5 is in the thousands place, and we want to round it to the nearest thousand. I'm going to circle that, and I call that the target number. Okay, and the target number is the place value that you are rounding to. Okay, the next step that you can do is underline what I call the helper number, and the helper number is the number that is directly to the right of the target number. Okay, so that's the helper number. So our 6 is going to help us decide what to do with that target number, what to do with that 5. Now, there's a little rhyme over here that you have to think of. It's a little rhyme to help you remember rounding rules. 5 or more, raise the score. 4 or less, let it rest. If your helper number, maybe I should draw a line here. This is for helper number. If your helper number is 5 or more, what you have to do is bump up that target number 1 digit. Okay, so in this case, our 6, that's something that's 5 or more. 6 is more than 5. That means we're going to bump up our target number to a 6. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to start by just writing whatever was there. We take the target number space and we bump it up to a 6. And then the last step is to replace the digits to the right of the target number with zeros. So since we had 3 places here, we need 3 zeros over here. Don't forget your comma. And we end up with a rounded number of 96,000. Okay, that was the same number that we arrived at when we used the number line method. Okay, let's try another practice example. Let's say instead of rounding to the nearest thousand, what I wanted to do was round this number to the nearest 100. What I'm going to do is find the hundreds place, and I'm going to circle it. That's the target number. That's the place that you are rounding to. Then what you're going to do is go to the right and underline the number directly to the right. That's your helper number. It helps you decide what to do with your target number. Then we think about the rhyme. 5 or more, raise the score. 4 or less, let it rest. Well, since our helper number is a 4, it's a 4 or less, that means we let the target number rest. We leave the target number alone. So the rounded version, I would start by just writing what's already there. We've decided, our helper numbers helped us decide to leave that target number alone. Okay, so we leave that, and then any other digits that you have become zeros, and don't forget your comma if you need it. Okay, so what I'd like you to actually do right now is pause this video, and I would like you in your notebook to write down these steps. You can give yourself a lesson 4 title and then write down these steps. So pause the video and do that now. They're going to be really important for your lesson today. All right, hopefully you have unpaused and finished writing those. And I just want to show you one more example to help you know in a certain situation where it might be a little bit confusing. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to round 992 to the nearest 1,000. Okay, now using the steps over here that you just wrote down, the step is to circle the target number based on the place value of where you are rounding. However, if you look at the number 992, there's nothing in the thousands place. okay? You can still do a circle there if you'd like to and just circle the nothingness because that's the target place, okay? The 9 right beside that place value, that is your helper number, okay? So you might run into a situation where the target place value is not there. That's okay, you can still do it, okay? The helper number helps you decide what should you do with that target place value. Is it 5 or more? Then we have to raise the score, okay? So what we have to do is change that nothing into a 1. All right, so we change the nothing into a 1. 1 is 1 more than nothing or 0, all right? And then after that, we make all the remaining place values zeros, okay? So to round a number like 992 to the nearest 1,000, you're going to end up with 1,000. And if you think about a number line, that makes sense, right? 992 would be really close to 1,000. So it makes sense that it would be rounded up to the nearest 1,000, which would be 1,000. All right, so hopefully that makes sense. Follow the steps over here. Really, really important steps when you are doing your rounding in your lesson. And if you have any questions, please let me know. I am happy to help you. And that's it for today.